You are not my mother, you are just an ugly baboon, said Chidimma to the giant. My mother's voice is softer than that. You cannot fool me. Once upon a time, there lived a naughty girl named Chidimma. Mma, my daughter. Yes, mother, I'm coming, Chidimma answered as she walked to where her mother was. When she arrived, her mother said to her, My dear child, listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you. Take the basket and farming hoe to collect some roots for us from the nearby field. Make sure you also pick some wild spinach leaves for soup. Chidimma took the basket and off she went to the fields. She had to walk a long distance before she finally stopped to dig out wild roots. She used her hoe to start digging them out. After digging out the roots, she put them into the basket. Soon came the man-eater. This giant was so big that he could be compared to a tree. His skin was so black and looked like he had applied a bucket full of charcoal. His teeth were as big as daggers, and his overall look was scary and hideous. Hello, Chidimma. What are you digging? He shouts. His voice sounded like thunder, but Chidimma was not afraid of him, even in the slightest. She didn't respond, and he called her name again. Hello, Chidimma. What are you digging? This time she replies, I'm digging the roots which belong to the monster, and I'm picking the spinach, she said in a slightly deep voice, trying to mimic him. He marches towards her and attempts to grab her and eat her. She quickly dodges and runs away from him so fast like a rat. She enters into a hole. The hole was so small that the man-eating giant could not get in, and he was unable to catch her. Just watch and see. I am very clever. I will definitely find a way to catch you, he said in a very loud voice, and he snapped his fingers. Chidimma started laughing at him. She mocked him, saying he looked creepy and ugly. You are ugly, you are ugly, you are ugly, she kept singing. The voice she used in singing hurt the monster's ears so much it sounded as though mosquitoes were singing inside his ears. And so he turned back and walked back to his home, where he wouldn't be able to hear her voice again. When the girl suspected he must have gone far enough, she quickly brought out her head like a rat and peeped. When she saw that he had already gone, she quickly came out of the hole and bent down quietly. Hiding in between the tall grasses, she carefully made her way back home. Mother, here are the roots, she said immediately she got back home. Where have you been, my child? Oh, mother, I had to go to a very far field, the giant's field, to get the roots. Oh, Mma, did you lose your ears as a child? Probably the dogs beat it off, because why do you keep going there after my several warnings? I have told you to stay away from him. Yes, I know, she replied, but I am not afraid of him. How can you not be afraid of him? He is bigger than any human, stronger than a tiger, and more dangerous than serpents. Why are you not scared of him? Just look at me, Chidimma said. Although I'm small and very weak, I am more clever than he is. You disobedient child, the mother said in a tone that showed how fed up she was. What are you thinking? Mother, I know how the monster operates. I hide in a hole inside the ground, and the giant who feels he is dangerous and strong cannot get inside. Then I start to mock him, saying, ugly monster, ugly monster, ugly monster. After that, what happens, my child? He gets angry and starts stomping his leg on the ground, and at that point, all I hear is the loud sound of his feet on the ground. Her mother then warned her sternly again to stay far away from the giant's territory, but Chidimma does not listen to her. Very early in the next morning of the next day, Chidimma sneaks into the field with her basket while her mom was fetching water in a clay pot. She went to dig for roots and wild spinach that grew in the giant's field. The giant saw her digging and said, "Hello, dear. Why are you digging so early in the morning, Chidimma?" "I'm digging the roots that belongs to the giants. I'm picking the wild spinach that grows in this field." He runs towards her to catch her, but she dodges like a rat as usual and dives straight into the hole where she usually hides. The giant couldn't reach her, and that made him very furious. He could smell her human flesh, and that made him long to eat her the more. "Ugly monster, ugly monster, ugly monster," she sings with her voice, piercing his ears like an arrow. Unknown to Chidimma, the giant is very clever. He's even more cunning than she could have ever imagined. Although he was angry, he sat down and waited outside the hole like a guest waiting to be served his food. But Chidimma was also very cunning herself. In fact, she was as clever as a rat. She also decided to sit down quietly. On seeing this attitude of hers, the giant thought of a plan to make her come out. "Chidimma, you must come out now. The sun is shining so bright. Your mother is standing on the mountain looking for you. She's hungry and waiting for the roots and wild spinach." Ugly monster," she mocks him. He falls to the ground angrily like a tree that was cut down. He strikes the ground. Boom! She knew that he was pretending to be dead while he was still alive, so she continued to sit down in the hole quietly. When she gets hungry, she eats some of the roots she had collected from the field, but she doesn't come out from her hiding place. The giant had another clever idea. He tried to sound like her mother. He increased the pitch of his voice and said, "Hello, Chidimma, my child. Where are you? The sun is going down." On hearing this, Chidimma laughs at him. She is smart enough to know that isn't the voice of her mother. She begins to mock him. "Ugly monster, you are not my mother. You are an ugly baboon with a pot belly." The giant listens to her quietly and got an idea. "That's it," he thought to himself. "I will make sure my voice is softer. Chidimma, darling," he calls her again. "It's getting late and the sun is going down faster." "Ugly monster," she mocks. "You are not my mother. Your voice is as rough as a mountain. My mother's voice is smooth like butter," she says as she continues laughing inside the hole. The next time the giant called, he did it softly. "Come home. I'm waiting for the roots and spinach leaves. The sun has almost disappeared." But his voice was still strong and rough. It didn't sound anything like the voice of a mother. From deep within the hole, she answered, "Go and sleep, giant. I told you when my mother speaks, it sounds like butter." When the sun had gone down beyond the mountains, the giant got up and went back home. When Chidimma noticed he was gone, she sneaked out of the hole quickly and walked back home as quietly as she could. In the night, the giant came up with a very brilliant idea. He would go to the hole where she usually hides from him while it was still dark. Hiding in between the tall grasses, he made his way to the hole and filled it up with stones. He left enough room for Chidimma's head to fit in. Then he gladly went back home to sleep. Early in the morning the next day, Chidimma, being the disobedient child that she was, went back to the giant's field again to dig for roots. He made sure to leave his house so early so that he could catch her. "Hello, dear. What are you digging?" "I'm digging the roots in the giant's field." As usual, he started running after her furiously, and she started running away as well. When she got to the hole, she tried to jump in, but unfortunately for her, only her head could fit in. The rest of her body was sticking out. The giant was so happy and gave out a loud laugh. "Ha ha ha! as he grabbed her and put inside his bag. "Please, please," Chidimma cried. "I'll never do it again. I will never come to your field to pick roots again, even when I'm old and grey." But the giant did not listen to her cries. He could only remember how she always mocks him, singing, "Ugly monster, ugly monster, ugly monster." Quickly, he tied up the opening of the bag and took her home to eat. That was the punishment for Chidimma's constant disobedience.